We're going to do a roll call and just respond here, yes. Miles Brown,
Muted.
Here, here.
Dean Burho, absent this evening. Sheldon Crosby,
Here.
Tim Eagle,
Here.
Kemper,
Here.
LaBoussiere,
Here.
David Quisenberry,
Here.
Robert Sanford,
Here.
and Peter Van Beckham.
Here.
Okay. So, on a couple things. Okay, I will open the organizational meeting, and with this, I will take nomination and a second for chair.
Nominate Tim. Second. You get a lifetime appointment almost. So far. You have to re-up it every year. Don't get sick. Tim.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of Tim Eagles being chair?
Aye.
Aye.
No, all right, we're gonna call it unanimous, aye.
I think I think he came out of here.
Oh, did you? Okay, perfect. So then I will take a nomination and a second for vice chair, please. Okay.
I'm going to nominate Peter. Weren't you vice chair before?
I think you're a current vice chair, or
Am I?
last vice chair, yeah.
Oh.
Have we had a vice chair before?
Yeah, Jack was vice chair, weren't you, Jack?
I think Jack was at one point a chair.
Insurrections.
I got Jack, Sheldon nominated Jack, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Yeah. Any other nominations for vice chair? I think I've just Jack, we're moving ahead with Jack as vice chair. So if all in favor of Jack being vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right. And at any point, if the committee chooses, we can review bylaws. Have to do that this evening, but just something to keep in mind. I did forward them to all of you. At any point, if there's something there that you think needs editing or revising, then that certainly can be considered. We can put it on the agenda and then address it. Okay. At this point, we will move into the regular business portion of the agenda. Thomaston Bank is being tabled. They've asked for an extension, so we will not hear from them this evening. Then brings us to Chase Bank. I believe we have the contractor and the architect on for Matt, if you want to unmute your microphone, Matt, you've got control over your own microphone, and Chris, so do you.
Yes, someone muted
Yeah.
me.
How's it going, guys?
Good, thank you. So the thought was that we would run through comments that had been generated the last time in November when Chase was before you. So I think first up are the gutters on the building.
Correct. So this is something that Chase has agreed, and this is something that we're going to be removing the white gutters that are existing in place, and we're going to be replacing with the copper gutters. And the first submittal is the coppers that we'll be putting. Full round will be the downspout, and half rounds will be catching the rainwater from the roof, the pitch roof. And this is the product that we are proposing. Obviously, it's not the white gutter that's shown. It's, yeah, it'll be the copper style. Fully
Yeah, if you
copper.
scroll down on that same page, you can see it.
Yep.
Good.
And then these are a little bit more specifications. We've highlighted copper for everything. So, the thickness, the specs, and then we're just, all the elbows, the connections, everything is copper.
Those round downspouts or square or rectangular?
He said round.
It's going to be
It's
round.
round.
They're going to be round, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
plain round downspout material.
Okay, couldn't see that. All right, thank you.
Anything else that needs to be shared with respect to the downspouts then, or are we all set with this?
Is plain round versus corrugated what's appropriate?
Sure.
All pertaining to the downspout.
It's a long submittal.
Okay, so we'll move on then. There's column construction was the next, I believe at the front of the building, for the portico. The shape and size of the portico and then the positioning of the columns.
Correct. So we're working on making some adjustments to that. If you refer to the later pages in the submittal, you will see
Yeah,
that.
there's five items in that document. It's just may not be in that order. So if you scroll down, I think it's the last section. So yeah, maybe it's better to zoom out. And then just keep going down to probably page 40, I would say.
Yeah, it starts right
Yeah.
there. Yep. Oops. So this is the dimensions of the portico that were shown per that presentation that was initially approved by the township. And these are just some of the dimensions that were drawn up. And then right now we have the square columns. And if you go down a little bit further, we have the proposal for this is a company by Cheyenne, which provides round columns. And it's not going to be tapered. It's going to be fully, it's going to be round and not tapered. It's going to be uniform size throughout. I know on the photo it looks like it's tapered, but we're using the non-tapered smooth version.
The diameter of the column. Almost 12. It says 11 and a half. Almost 12.
Yeah, the actual dimension is 12 inches, and then the nominal is at 11 3/4. And then we're providing 9 feet high.
For the treatment at the top and bottom.
Is there a photograph anywhere of what it looks like right today?
Right there, if you scroll down slightly. The column, the one that's highlighted in red, you just passed it.
No, I meant, is there a photograph?
Oh, what's existing?
Of what's there today?
Yeah, if you scroll up to maybe zoom out a little bit. And if you scroll up to the existing, the currently installed storefront entrance, there's a picture up there.
Yeah, I believe it was right before this document.
Yeah, I think it was,
One more back.
A little bigger.
Right there.
yeah. Oh, you know, I don't know if there's one wide enough out.
So all that's happening is the columns are going from square to round?
I think the initial issue was the overhang on the side of the portico. It's like a
The
foot.
location of the column in
Um,
relation to the edge.
Yeah, so the columns
The
are,
roof was built too large, is what,
yeah, so the columns are gonna stay where they are. It's just, I think the issue was just having that overhang on the sides.
what's the proposed solution?
I mean, we would have to rip the entire roof and framing and redo it. So I mean, it definitely is a costly operation. So, I mean, if we went with a round column instead of the square, would that be acceptable, or does the whole thing need to get reframed?
Say the whole thing needs to be reframed.
Yeah, I don't know what the round column in lieu of the square column does for the issue at hand.
It was originally proposed as rounds. I mean, if we want to keep the square columns that are there and redo the overhang and lower the pitch a little bit, just so that we are aligned with the edge of the columns, would that suffice?
I think that works for
I have
me.
to see what that looks like. Are you talking about changing the pitch of the roof or what?
Yeah, we would have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
It would just be eliminating the overhang. So the edge of the roof or the edge of the fascia would be pretty much right up against the column trim up top.
Like shown in their detail.
Basically like the sketch, yeah.
And originally, I can't remember what it was, 3 or 4 inches they had. You know, it kind of lined up with the edge, and all of a sudden, the thing's way out here.
No, I understand what was approved. I understand what's built. I just want clarification on what
This is that.
you're proposing to do.
So we would,
Drawing of it. This is
yeah,
the
so-
drawing of what you proposed.
Yeah, that's the
exactly.
proposed sketch. Yep.
Yep. So we would have to essentially reframe the roofing that's there so that as it looks in the picture, it's aligning more with the edges of the columns. So this is something that's, yeah, proposed. But if we can keep the square columns, I think that would help out in terms of pricing as well. That way we don't have to rip it out and we can just redo the roof.
No.
Right, okay, I agree with you.
I don't have a problem if they keep the square columns as long as the roof works.
Would agree with that.
I would say the square columns could stay if the roof is the right detail.
Okay, and just
Does everybody agree with that?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
a question on the overhang on the front. Is that going to follow the same detail as the side?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's no overhang in any direction? Okay.
The square columns can stay,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
The point is, because there's not a beam being supported on the column, there can't really be an overhang or else
The roof is the beam.
the roof is the beam, so.
Miles, you good with that? We can't tell if you're saying yay in the
Yes,
middle of all
I'm
of
good. I'm good. I'm good with that. Yeah. As long as the roof aligns as this drawing is shown, I'm fine with that.
Ready to move on to the next?
Yep.
item then?
You can find it.
Absolutely. So we already painted the band to match the siding, which has been already completed, which is the next item after the portico.
That looks great, much better.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. And then I think this is also completed as well. And then we painted this one as well. And then that one is also no comment. So this is in regards to the doors on the Farmington Avenue side. So if we can go back to the other document, so this is what's already existing in place. I think it was page right before this one, right?
Yeah, a little bit up. It was the page we were on, looking at the existing.
26 or something like that. So this is what's, this was since we had lead time issues, this was the door that was proposed in place of the original, what was the, Chris, what was the original manufacturer?
Pella.
For Pella. And then Pella had a severe lead time, so we had to put in a door, so we went with the Clonier option. And currently this is what the existing door looks like in place.
Can you zoom in on that at all? Yeah, I think so. Just flat panels and storefront. Which I think we were saying at the time that we wanted more of a style and rail feel door on this side of the building, right?
Yes.
So what are you guys proposing to do on this side, Mehmet?
I mean, if we can, if the door is, I mean, if the door looks good for the township, we would prefer to keep it just because it's a brand new door. If there are, comments to make adjustments to it or, replace it completely, then, it's a possibility, but it's just a very costly option for us as well in terms of budgeting. So, I mean, preferably, we think the door looks good architecturally. If we can make a few modifications, that'd be a lot more preferred on our end.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking, I mean, because I know the next item is probably the windows, and we found a company that specializes in surface applied grids. So, I mean, we can always do the same type of grid system on these side lights, which may help as well.
Side lights look really different from the door. They're different.
Well, there's no panel.
Well, yeah,
There's no panel, and
because
then there's a
heavy-
second,
Just storefront.
there's a second rail at the bottom, and the mid rail is higher than the lock rail on the doors.
Doesn't work for me at all.
Is there a grid on the left side, but not on the right side too? Is that what I'm seeing? Is that just,
That's what it looks like.
There's another picture.
It's, Miles, I think it's because it's in the glass. It's not on the face like we asked for, so you can't see it because it's in the glass.
yeah, that's part of the problem, right? What did the proposed elevation look like? I can't recall. I know we have that.
It was a much more historic looking door, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like a
One piece.
If you go to the sketch, it may have the original, the roof sketch. all the
Oh
way at
yeah,
bottom.
the black and white sketch on towards the last pages. I think like 40, 42, I think it was.
For the portico?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the portico had it was based off the elevations that were colored. Yeah, this was the, it's not colored right now, but yeah, this was the proposed door.
I was kind of assuming that was more of like a residential type, you know.
I wasn't expecting a storefront.
Yeah.
Right, same here.
So it sounds like the consensus is the door needs to be replaced.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate
Okay.
for the,
So
you know, we went through all this effort to give the building this kind of historical feel.
Yep.
And then you've got a door that just is like,
there's lead time issues and they've got specs of a different door, you'd be happy to, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
take a look at it,
Yeah.
right, via,
Okay.
so if there's, this particular door isn't available or the lead time is too prohibitive, then you can tell us with spec sheets of something that's more readily available for review.
More readily available.
Actually, what would look the nicest would be like a Simpson wood
Yeah,
door
that's
that has
what I
a
was-
water barrier on the outside.
yeah, and it's got a roof, so, you know, it's a painted door.
Right, you do a Simpson door with water barrier and ultra block, it'll, under the portico roof, yeah, that'd be beautiful.
And then the side lights, the whole entry is
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
Simpson.
it's from Simpson, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to look at Simpson?
I have not, no.
What was the manufacturer? Sorry, I misheard.
Simpson.
Simpson? Okay. Definitely take a look at
They
it.
would make the whole entry storefront with the two side lights, you know, with the panels below, a traditional door, raised panel door, and Bob suggesting just a painted wood door with, ultra black.
So there's a water barrier, which is like an MDO coating on the exterior, and then ultra block is a treatment of the lower part of the door that resists rot.
You're gonna wanna see build
Is it,
Are the
Is it
dimensions
possible
of
to
the,
keep-
oh, sorry.
Like a Brosco catalog. for
since we're a bank, is it possible to keep the door as like anodized aluminum due to security? Because if we have a wood door, I feel like a steel door and like some kind of aluminum door would be more secure.
So I think what you proposed before was like a Pella aluminum clad wood door, and I know Pella makes them, Lincoln makes them, a lot of them make them. They're all very extended lead times now, and I'm not a security expert, but I would think you could get through one of those as easily as you could a per door, quite honestly.
We could definitely ask our security consultant as well, see what they think.
It's just literally the cladding.
Yeah.
Wood door with cladding.
Yeah.
Right.
well, and there's a lot of glass too, so.
And the security ship has sailed.
And you'll see with Simpson, there's different models. Some of them have laminated panels that are, you know, stronger and more durable than just a 3/4 inch one-ply panel, so. But they've got a good presence online where you can see what they've got.
You could go in through the window easier
Okay.
than going in through it.
That's
Doors
perfectly
anyway.
acceptable from our end.
Wouldn't even think of that.
All right, so we'll agree to this and replace it, and then we'll take a look at Simpson, and then we'll provide the shop drawings as well.
Now, as far as the hardware goes, I would imagine that's gonna have to be different as well. Like that pull. I would imagine there's standard hardware that comes with the Simpson doors.
No,
Just blank.
So it's just,
just a blank.
yeah, so if that's what we approve, that handle, you could use that kind of a pull handle with it.
Okay, all right. And then we'll just have to just make sure we prep the frame. I mean, everything's got to be prepped for the push button actuator and all that. So we'll have to just look at the design for that.
Come back to us with what you find and what you're proposing, so we don't go through this again.
Sure. We'll
Yeah,
send it to
definitely.
Shannon and Bruce.
So the Simpson doors are usually put in a wood frame, but you can use a hollow metal frame. You order or you specify what you call a nailer frame. So it just has a nailing flange, just like a window, and then you can case over it. And you could put into that, you know, the hollow metal frame could be reinforced for whatever power operator you might have, if that's what you're talking about. Any kind of electric strike, if you have that, or really most anything you need. But you probably would want something more durable than a wood frame if you've got a power operator.
Yeah, that was
But
my
you
only
can achieve the
concern. Yeah.
same- You can achieve the same look, you just wanna, you know, Google search, you know, nailer frame, hollow metal nailer frame.
Okay.
For the door, move on to the next item.
Yes, please.
So we painted the vents. So the vent is be black, dark gray. That's already completed. And then you guys agreed to the canopy at the ATM, so that's going to remain as is. And then for this comment H, so with the vertical trim, we did a mock-up. If you can go to the next document, and that was if you could go to, I believe it was like on
Document, Shannon?
on page 10. I believe it was on page 10. We had the photograph side by side. Yeah, right here. Perfect. Sorry, 26. So if you go back one more, I believe we have, or forward, we have side by side. So this was the one on the left is what was originally done, and then the 3-inch is proposed is on the right side.
But then the head and the sill piece are too short. You're making the window essentially wider without making the head piece any wider, right?
Right.
I would assume they'd have to do that.
Yeah, when we talked before, we talked about making the head and sill wider.
Yeah.
Trim got wider, but the whole thing needs to widen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The casings are fine, the head and the sill are not.
This was what was done originally, so we didn't like this, right, because it was
Yeah.
too thin. So now they fixed that, but it created a different,
Well, I
they
think,
just fixed it all the way around.
well, yeah, you fix the entire trim.
Right. And the header and sill shall be rebuilt to proportionally accommodate the additional width of the case.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, right. They're just showing us for what it looks like. I think it's fine.
So the mock-up doesn't show that.
Yeah, but the mock-up doesn't show that, right?
So you're good with this width, as long as that.
Sill, yep. Need to be wider.
Are you talking about the top or the bottom?
So
Both.
Both. Okay.
that was part of the original
Right.
comment that increase the vertical trim and the header and sill have to be rebuilt to accommodate that proportionally.
Any comments from your end, Chris, in terms of limitations or?
No, I mean, it's going to be a decent amount of work, but I mean,
All right, so just if we could go back to the photograph, I just want to, so you guys want to, do you want the edge of that header, the wide header that's above, do you want it aligned with the edge of the 3.5-inch edge? And then just
Yeah.
push out the
And
crown?
with the apron
Yeah.
on the sill.
Okay. On the apron as well? Okay, so just make we'll make that match to the side of the 3.5-inch trim, and then the same thing above the crown. Yep, exactly the edge. We'll make that match with the 3.5. So that'll expand the crown above and below.
The actual sill, though, that should have sill ears like the one on the left, right?
Yeah, so the apron, it's
Yeah,
gonna get
right.
widened out so the apron below
right.
lines up with the
Yeah, I'm just not sure they're
casing.
following that the sill has to go out too, in addition to the apron.
Whole fit, right?
Yeah,
So it's
the whole piece
Yeah.
just needs to be,
We'll keep the same, we'll keep the same profile, but we'll align the bottom piece to the edge of the 3.5. And then we'll keep the same
The
profile.
whole thing will stretch, right?
Yeah.
The ceiling, the whole thing stretches, and this whole thing stretches out, and the same up to the top. So the entire section stretches out.
Okay. All right, so Chris, we'll get working on that, and then I guess we could modify this mock-up that we have right there, just to modify the top and the bottom, and then we'll send it over to the town.
Okay.
MI has to do with the,
Correct, this is the double hung units, so we are proposing we're proposing like an architectural solution to this. So if we go, yeah.
so this is all, I think this all relates to the windows and
Yep. So if we if we go to the document after this, it starts at the very large document that's in here, the oversized one. Right here, yep. Oops.
here.
Yes. So Chris, if you want to give a quick,
Yeah, so this is just a sample photo the company sent me of surface applied grids on a different project. But if you keep going down, there's some better examples. I think this is just a shop drawing that they prepared for a different project, and it shows the horizontal bar with the surface applied grids. This is another example. And then that's a picture of it off the window.
They all have no vertical panes. These pictures have nice panes of glass.
is there a picture of the inside, outside, I mean? I guess I know what you're trying to do, just none of these pictures are of the outside of the building, are they?
This seems to be the inside,
the
and
inside.
the one below is the inside.
That's the actual unit, I think he said.
Yeah, that's the actual unit itself that goes in the window, but most of the time they do it both on the inside, outside. So this photo just happens to be on the inside, but it would be the same. Like if you go to the first photo, that's obviously from the outside. So it'll look the same, from both ways. That's a different style, but those are surface applied grids.
yeah, this is just an example of a different project that they had applied. We can definitely, Chris, I believe we're doing a mock-up of this, but we're just waiting for the
Well, I
product.
mean, they do shop drawings, so I think I could probably get some samples of the material and do shop drawings as well. I mean, there's also a cut sheet on the profiles.
And these new grids are gonna be black or white?
They would have to match the window frame, so it's like a dark gray. It would have to be just a custom color to match the frames.
So the point is we looked at it, we think it was a double hung.
Larger check.
Correct. We could, this is just a sample photo, but we could definitely, obviously, we're going to do our approved elevations. So we'll make it look double hung. We'll have the fatter piece in the center. And then this is just a product that we wanted to show that we want, yeah, exactly, per the shop drawing. Just wanted the team to see here what the product looks like on site. But we are,
Can we see a blow up of the bars I think they're over on the left-hand side, maybe?
Yeah, if you scroll down, there's, or you can actually, yeah, you can zoom in there, but there's actually a whole cut sheet on the profiles.
There's a putty glazed look.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't have a good sense of whether it's gonna look right or not.
So are they, you guys are planning on pulling out the glass and then applying these new glass and then these things on the front and the back?
No, this is gonna just be surface applied. We're not taking the glass out.
So
would
surface
just-
applied to the existing glass?
Correct. To basically, we would also have to match the existing grid of the internal buttons.
Right, so I'd like to see what that looks like. Number one.
I mean, we
'cause
can-
things are
we can
horizontal,
order-
we approve.
I mean-
Easy approve, let me put it that way.
I mean, we can
Right.
order maybe one window of grid if, you know.
I think that's worthwhile.
I think so too.
Agreed.
But just to be sure, that we're just talking about the 15 windows on the ground level, right?
It's glued on, right?
Yeah, it's a 3M, probably 3M tape they use, yeah.
We do it on the clear story windows too, right?
The whole front, right?
The clear story windows, they're just like a transom panel, right? They're not like a double hung. But they got divided lights in them.
But they have the divided lights.
So we apply these on the exterior, the divided light.
So are we talking about just the check rail piece, or we're talking about all the grids? All of it. Okay.
Yeah, everything.
Shannon, can you just go back to our original recommendations?
Several times.
Your way.
Double hung windows at the front of the building.
Okay, and that's the
Simulated divided light pattern for the large window at the front.
That's not what they're talking about doing. They're talking about, we said, of the building, go the installation of the two double hung windows on the front of the building as noted on the plan and rendering, and instead install simulated check and simulated divided lights on the windows. The simulated divided light patterns for the large windows in the front of the building shall be proportioned similar to the adjacent windows, the vertical orientation. But what they just said was that the plan is to put grid back in, not take the glass out, just put it back in the same orientation of what's there, which is horizontal. And I think it'll look weird if you put the check rail in, because all of a sudden you're gonna have different sized lights. Right? Because right now they're all equal. So as soon as you put the fatter check rail in, you're gonna end up with different size lights. So do you guys wanna see is there any purpose in doing a mock-up of what they're proposing? Or not?
Not if the lights look stupid.
Yeah. Do we just want the two double hung windows we were supposed to get originally, or? Well, wasn't the whole building supposed to be SPL? It was, right?
I thought so.
Yeah, it was. And it's all GBG, so there's still that cut issue. Because GBG looks terrible there.
I agree.
So, what do you guys wanna do? What are you thinking, Miles?
Yeah, I think it's gonna look terrible if they just put simulated lights on the way with the pattern they've got here. Got to do it right.
So that ultimately means taking the glass out and then putting simulated divided lights on with a vertical orientation and a check rail to all look appropriate. With an orientation, like we said in the first go around, and a vertical orientation of the divided light, of the lights.
Agreed.
Do it.
Do we agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anything else?
So, and Chris, you understand like with the committee trusting that this, it actually modified and done as specified in this.
No, we understand. I mean, this was something we had also discussed previously in another meeting. I mean, the reason why we're doing a surface supply was just because of a compromise to redo the portico. So that's why we had proposed this. And, you know, we can definitely review with the Chase designer as well.
I think we're okay with surface applied, it's just you can't surface apply it to the existing glass. We're not saying yank out the whole windows and put double hungs in there. We're saying it's okay to leave the storefront that you have and do glass with surface applied buttons and a surface applied check rail. But it's not okay to just do surface applied over the existing glass with the existing light pattern that you have in there.
So Chris, what would it take to,
I mean, are we talking about all the windows in the entire building? Or just Farmington Ave?
We all were supposed to have SDL. Yep, I agree.
So, I mean, all the glass will have to be replaced and reinstalled with different grid layout.
all right, this is something I believe we have to discuss with our client because it's a very, very costly option to get rid of all the existing glass.
Okay.
So the next item was the cornice detail. The joints will be reviewed and corrected as needed along the length of the cornice. Has that been completed?
Chris, I believe you're still working with the manufacturer to correct this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, some of them may have to get adjusted, but our plan was to, when the
Yes.
carpenter's on site doing the roof, to just hit that as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna
Okay.
make sure this happens, yep.
Okay. I didn't have, that was the end of the summary comments
Okay.
from the November meeting, so.
Okay.
Or Chris, do you have anything else? So, any other questions, anything you want to review with the commission or committee before we move on to the next, our next matter?
I think I'm good on my end.
Yeah, I'm good on my end.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are they thinking?
I don't know what they're doing.
See if I can adjust the volume a little bit.
Way cheaper to do it right first.
Okay.
You can draw it.
All right. Mr. Doyle, are you starting us off this evening for, midpoint?
Yes, I am.
Got a myriad of things online, you just need to let me know. These opened up so that,
person following along, is he gonna stay there?
Yeah,
So where's the camera?
Anna's here.
Oh, okay. Well,
You've also got,
I have everything you emailed me and the full plan, and the full submission that you made, so I just need to know what you want open.
for on the site end of this, I think the package I sent over today that had the render plan, I think we should focus on the rendered site plan.
Approve what we're- No?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys remember me, I'm Phil Doyle. I am a landscape architect and an urban planner. My company is LADA, we're over in Simsbury. And I'll be talking tonight, Todd Clark, who is our architect, is going to be talking tonight, I think. Abe Kaoud, who's one of the owners and developers, is should be on Zoom tonight. I think you should be able to have him in case there's a question that comes up. The property owner, let's say owners, the property owner and co-developer, Jeff Scott, is hiding behind the board over here. So if there's any question about it comes up, Jeff is here. Ashley Clark, who's an associate with Todd, is with us. And Robin Pearson, our project attorney, is here. And where we are is, you guys probably know the history on this. We've, December of 2020, we received the master plan approval and special permit approval from TP&Z. And just before that, we had been in and done a review with the committee. And you saw us back in October of this year as we did a work session. And it was in November, I say this year, it was 21, November of 21. We received an approval from the Inland Wetlands Commission. So since that inland wetland approval, we've moved forward and we filed a week or so ago the TP&Z site plan application. And as part of the site plan application on this project, we're required to come to you, and the ultimate purpose is for you to create a statement of appropriateness and architectural continuity. And to a degree, I've got to say, I'm not exactly sure what that means. And I'm hoping that you guys know what that means, because we see the reviews you're going through, whether it's in Unionville or in Farmington Village, and we've got this 25-acre piece of property with some 17 buildings on it, and at the end of this review, we hope that you're comfortable in putting together that type of statement. And I imagine it's something like the statement that you made to the TP&Z when we went through the master plan process. But that's why we're here. I'm sure you're all aware of it. I'm not going to belabor a presentation on the site tonight, because we were here only 2.5 months ago. But I will just point out some of the things that have happened, in large part based on your comments. A lot of the comments that you have made over time and that staff has reinforced with us as the 1.5 or 2 years has gone by have had an impact on the project and affected our thinking. perhaps I'll just point to the screen, but one of the comments that was made in terms of the site when we were here in, first, was that we ought to be thinking about the front entrance, what people are seeing when they arrive, and were they able to see the clubhouse, were they able to see through the river, and could we find a way to strengthen the boulevard system? And in doing that, so what we did was we took the clubhouse, we moved the clubhouse to the west. To the west is towards me, to the east is towards Shannon. And we moved the clubhouse slightly west, and we took the plaza, there was a gathering plaza, party plaza, and we moved it to the east side of to the building. We also took buildings 1, 2, and 3, and slid them west. We're pinched because there's a sewer line that runs down through the site, but we moved the building within, so the building would be within 5 feet of the sewer easement. And we tried to open up this view corridor so there would be the potential to see through to the river, and also to see a gathering party place, an activity area that was actually mentioned in the comments, to try to create something that would happen there. So we tried to respond to that, and we added an extra length to the boulevard. What I did, though, on the planting plan is I did not pack this area with a series of trees because I want to maintain that open space, and the trees that are shown in there would be flowering trees and relatively small cercis, that they would be lightly branched to give us a chance to see down to the river. One of the other comments that you made, and I think that this comment was made by the chair, was that we ought to think about the relationship of the buildings. You remember that Shannon, the plan that so that people online can see this, the plan that we used when we came here, it's November, but it was actually October 21st. When we came in, it was the first time you and other people had seen the idea that we were trying to penetrate the residential core with mixed uses. So we had proposed 2 mixed-use buildings, commercial on the first floor, residences on the upper 2 floors. We're calling this building Building F, and this building Building G. And part of the comment was that these 2 buildings are not relating to one another. Think about how you do that and maintain connections. The original intent of this building in this location had been 2. One, so if a person's coming in the main entrance, they see it. Second was we were trying to give some of the residents a view to the river between the various buildings. We came back, we looked at 3 or 4 different ways to approach that, and we settled upon the final plan. Go back to the other plan. We rotated building F, and in rotating building F 90 degrees, we looked at we looked at bringing the buildings in. We have a stormwater basin that's critical in all of this design. Underlying everything is the need to provide perimeter stormwater control. Here, and through this area, because the parking lots have to have water go somewhere. And what we decided was this was the best approach. We rotate building F so that it faces building G, maintain the sidewalk connection between them, couple of things happened. One is the Midas Mufflin here, the existing buildings have never had a great view. We wanted to get this view from the street. We wanted to get building G out on the street so that it would have some presence. There would be some kind of visual reinforcement. We realized too, if I rotate this around, from this entrance, people will be able to see this building now, so that'll increase its retail value on the ground. We also realized that we were able to extend the main street, and I didn't mean to touch the board, but extend the main street and punch it in further into the residential section. And it gave us the ability to create a larger pedestrian space, a plaza at this area that's where we will have a gathering spot. That was always intended as our major gathering spot. So sidewalks can come in, crossing can happen, and when the bike path comes in, we're changing the texture of the bike path at that driveway location to go to concrete. And we're creating a wayfinding pavilion at that particular location. We thought that those were very good suggestions, and we've tried to implement both of those suggestions. One of the other things that happened, I know that conversation that we had in October, we were talking about history. We've done a lot of research on history. It's been hard to find much. The history board that I sent you. It's kind of in three parts. There's not much that's available. We know that the Carlson and Terrell Company constructed the building, and one of the pictures that we got from that company, it calls it a grain elevator and another term in there, but it was basically a grain elevator, and it's an interesting connection to the agricultural past of Farmington, that it was intended to be here to supply hay and grain to local farmers. Today, most of us wouldn't think about that. So it was very interesting researching, and the company was out of New Britain that constructed it. And we found a picture, some of the historic research of the bridge. The site is right there. This was a picture taken in 1947, looking north across the bridge. And then someone, I'm not sure who, had put together some historic documentation on the building. That was done in '86. That's what the building looked like in '86. Is today lightly used auto parts. And we know that it started out as a 12-acre piece. Looks like it was broken up, subdivided over time, and it is what it is today. The metal building, we think, was built somewhere in the 40s, and then that block addition that's over here, or in here, was built in the 80s. Other things that came out of it, when we were reading the historic documentation, they were talking about the trolley stop, and they called it a belvedere, kind of pavilion. And the trolley apparently ran until the 30s. We found a picture of look carefully at this. It's the Hartford Farmington Unionville trolley line. We found an old trolley map that took us out to Unionville. It is right about there on the line. So that ran into the 30s, and one of the things that was interesting about that is we've been thinking about wayfinding and how do you get around the property. So Todd can explain how he's trying to integrate the idea of this trolley stop or the design features of that into our site. Now, I know that Jeff Scott, property owner, has approached Midas Muffler to see if he can rehabilitate this feature. It's not quite on our property, it's on the edge of the property and sits on the Midas Muffler side of the driveway. But we'd like to get a hold of this and And,
Relocated,
and,
relocated,
yeah, and rehab it.
yeah, and definitely, yeah.
So, but we have to arrange that. The other part of the research was the site itself. The property now is 25 acres. We found a 1934 air photo that shows primarily on the property, mostly it's just the McCallum building sitting there against the railroad track. We found from 34 we went to 49, and the site hadn't changed much in that photograph, mostly open. At the time, and there was no good photographs from the 50s or the 60s in the state archives. The next good photograph comes out of the 70s, but we know in the 50s and 60s there was a lot of earthwork going on. We found one of the old documents from the 20s from Dunning. Dunning did most of the excavation, and they started the excavation work in this area somewhere around 1913. And even in this 1934 photograph, all the area on the north side of Route 4, Farmington Avenue, is all being excavated. So those are all tracks of excavators in that photograph. By the time we get to 1949, the first pond, I think they call it, is open, and you've got some cranes in this area dragging sand out of that spot. In the 70s, what you realize is that all along the river, our site has been excavated. The 12-acre island that was reported to be sitting in the middle of the river is all gone or partially gone, and a new lagoon is starting to be created on the eastern side of the site, and that's somewhere down in here. So our site changed shape over the 40 or 50 or 60 years that activity took place. So it was interesting going through this. Some of that information we'll be able to incorporate into the design. What we'd like to do is take some of the information and then put it on plaques, have it in the wayfinding areas, have it perhaps in the clubhouse and in the main mall inside the McCallum building, so that there is some continuation of the historical understanding of the historical process, what has happened on the property. And I think I'd like to have, let's start going through the buildings.
We have technology, just flip the boards here since I'm going to flip them. My name is Todd Clark from Blue Loom Design. I'll start on sheet A1, if you can, Shannon. There's like 20 sheets here, so Shannon said I could spend a half an hour on each one, so let's get going. Basically, to start off, in the first meeting, someone made the comment, since we're talking to a computer screen, someone made the comment that there was a lack of sense of space. And that's really what we've been trying to refine since we've started the project.
I'm going to interrupt just real quick, because I have these are named and numbered based on the mission that came in with this whole,
Well, A1 will be the number. All the McCallum stuff are lettered, and then all the...
There we go, all right,
Okay.
I missed it, sorry.
Sorry.
Nope, I just wanted to make sure.
All right.
My apologies, I missed it, thank you.
You can see, right? Or are you gonna use that? All right. So basically, what we concentrated on is sense of place. That's like priority number one. Number two, we wanted to incorporate live, work, and play. And that was really important in the overall design of the whole project. So without belaboring fancy design talk and everything, I'll get going to the stuff that mainly we embellished, changed for your request, or you haven't seen before. So basically, this is A1. That's the metal building that's right behind the hot dog stand. Basically, we have a sketch here of what that would look like, sort of as you just pass by the overpass.
what we're thinking of, Jeff likes the black building. We kind of went with a gray motif, and that will be on the boards there under building A. So very quickly, we're going to be adding some veneer stone to the lower section that's concrete. The exterior siding is actually in good shape. That will be a medium gray, and then we'll add some canopies to the roof floor side and the box side. We'll probably be adding a standing metal seam roof, just practically speaking, for the insulation value. We really don't want to cover up the nice ironwork inside the building. So that's basically what we're doing. We're going to add a new monitor to the top of the building. And basically, Jeff is working with the auto parts store to take the lower level of the building here. So doing that is we're going to down here. So in doing that, we need to get in from the sidewalk level, which means it's an intermediate level. Stairs will go down, stairs will go up. There'll be an elevator off to one side for handicap access and also loading. There's a loading dock back here. If I had my brothers, I don't know the condition of the outside of the silo, but if we had the opportunity to reface it, it would probably be the corrugated galvanized, natural galvanized look. This will be a medium gray, I touched that, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And the top roof piece will be a dark gray.
Todd, excuse me,
Yep.
building A, where's this?
What?
Where's the corrugated going?
Well, actually, it's the siding on the existing building, which is in good shape. The roof is actually corrugated too, but I know realistically speaking, down the road, we're gonna need insulation in the building, so we're gonna put a standing metal seam on top of that with the insulation in between. And if we can, we'll replace the cladding on the silo.
Wait, so the galvanized is the existing wall? you're
Yep,
saying?
yep.
But then, so where is the light gray?
The light gray will be, it won't be the true galvanized. This will be true galvanized. This will be painted
There
gray.
won't be silver, just a
No,
painted.
it'll be gray, like that, right?
Okay, good.
The building's painted now with a few layers of paint, so that's what we're
And
planning.
this is a trim color?
Yeah, that will be the roof color and some trim
Okay.
color. The windows in the storefront, clear aluminum, just the, if it's all gray, it's gonna look pretty bland. We'll be putting some nice stone veneer here. There's a signage here, a little bit above eye level, person level, so that when people drive in, they can see the auto parts store or whatever signage. We'll use the whole thing. Obviously, you can see that we've added a deck, a raised platform that would face Route 4. We're thinking there's a brewery or eatery and all that sort of stuff. You know, we'd like something that relates to Route 4. Obviously, this site is special because you have the river, obviously, you have the walk, you have the residential, we have the commercial mixed use, we have McCallum Building, and we have Route 4. So depending on where the buildings are, we're trying to take advantage of each one of those placements and try to relate that to more than just one thing.
Is that doorway all glass?
What?
Blue glass above it?
Yeah.
Both of them actually.
Basically, in order to get in and save parking space, because parking's a premium on the site, we're gonna push this in about 4 or 5 feet. It's gonna go in at an intermediate level, and then there'll be an elevator off to the side, and stairs will go down, and stairs will go up. There'll be a split lane. Sheet E1. E. So basically, E1, you haven't seen this before, this is the bike repair shop, and it's actually, part of it is on the site now, and basically this part is still standing. There's a foundation for this piece over here. So the idea with this was, obviously you have a bike path. We'd like to take advantage of bikers and all that stuff, invite them down into the site. So if it's a bike repair, you can buy helmets or whatever you want to do for a bike. Basically,
I was thinking, and that's on the color board, a vertical cedar siding.
Where is that building?
Hey, Chuck, can I
This
just,
one.
yeah, is this, is a building
Oh, in
that's
the
at the
back.
base of the bike path.
Right.
And we talked about that, trying to engender some light, and that's just at the spot where I'm sagging the bike trail.
Right.
So that sign would be at a level that would be facing people on the bike
So
trail.
this side faces McCallum Building, more or less. This faces the river, and this faces the bike path. So what we're proposing is a higher sign, so that obviously on your bike path is more or less eye level as you come down. Hopefully it'd be cute enough and warm enough that people want to come down and visit the place. This is part of the pathways through the site that I think is going to start getting important and give it the vitality that it needs, is, you know, get people off the bike path and down into our
But
site.
there's no entrance from the bike path side though?
Actually, because there's a handicap ramp,
There is access from the bike path side. The bike path comes down here.
yeah,
Drops into a gathering area, there's a crosswalk, and our entrance, the handicapped entrance is right here.
Oh, I see. So when you see the back there where you have the sign,
right.
at that point, you're up high.
Yeah, you're right.
Correct.
So you've got to go all the way around and come back.
Right.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
bike
'cause
path
it's not
itself-
at grade at that point.
The bike path is dipping like this,
Got it.
and the ramp comes down, and people will then come in that door.
Yeah, so you with this one here.
That door. There is a sidewalk, though, that goes around, and it
Okay.
can come in
Yeah,
that door as well.
Yep, no, I'm just asking.
Yeah, and it's so steep right there.
Yep.
So we'll have some barn doors, and you can see an
Yeah,
example
no.
of a barn door. You know, make it something cute on the site, it's a wood building, basically.
What is the siding on the material?
Vertical cedar.
Okay.
So next one is F1. F1 is this building right here, next to the concrete end of the McCallum Building.
That's a new build.
Yeah, it's a new, brand new building, right?
That's here, it's
Yeah.
F.
Right, that's F. So, since it's near the McCallum Building, I sort of perceived it as a concrete block, a brick also, and the base will have stone, as it shows on the rendering, and you obviously have the material board. So basically, it was something that I felt that can be different. So I wanted different colors than, say, the McCallum Building, and I'll get to the McCallum Building eventually. So basically, just storefront in the front, 8 units up above for residents. Common stairs at the end, obviously, double load. And we'll have doors for retail because it's accessible from both sides. So basically, we want people to see it from not only the courtyard from the McCallum side, but also from the bike path also.
And can you just zoom into some of those elevations, please?
Where's the CMU going to be?
It's gonna be more or less the smooth here, and then the brick will be like infill, similar to McCallum Building as far as creating fields, and then the stone stuff will be down at the bottom.
Basically, your posts, your framing posts on the exterior are the block.
Will be gone.
And what about the large panel in the pediment?
This,
Yeah.
instead of just making it flat, because you'll see soon, I did a brick building that's flat. I'm just trying to create different things. One of the comments, from the last meeting was trying to create a village. And with that, my take on that was to have different looking buildings. So obviously you have the metal building, that's very different. The hot dog stand's very different, McCallum. So I took the approach that let's try to mix it up a little bit. And so that was just one of the things, just to add a pediment.
No, but what is the material? I think.
It will be concrete block. I was thinking on recessing, you know, moving it in and out to create shadow lines.
I'm concerned about the pediment here. I don't understand what your rake board's going to be, and then the panel underneath. You weren't thinking of taking the CMU up along the rake, were you?
No, you mean this piece up here?
Well, the fatter piece right below that, yeah.
This one?
Both of them.
Actually, yeah, there's something that we're concerned about internally amongst the group, is that if we start going into EFS, we know that there's a sanding process, and we didn't want that all ending up in the river, obviously. So we've kind of like shifted gears here in the middle of this and try to move away from EFS if that's gonna be a problem. So I don't have a problem with changing up the material myself. This is gonna be brick here, then, you know, I don't actually even mind if I put brick up in here. That doesn't bother me at all. It's just, we're trying to steer away from EFS, and I'm thinking, okay, I want something that looks smooth and light gray.
Yeah, no.
So that's really what I was aiming for.
The pediment is like a billboard, correct?
Yeah.
It's not a roof, it's not a roof.
So you're gonna, yes, so I have signage down here. So the idea was that I would have, obviously, some, responses on the building, and then basically signage panels here. This would be proud of the building. It would come out similar to what we're proposing on the McCallum building, and also do downlights so that no light is sort of coming back up into the residential area of this.
You haven't put any sections together yet, have you, any wall sections?
I know that this will be the main plane, and then it goes back into.
If you haven't done them,
No, I'm trying to explain what's gonna happen, because it's gonna be interesting, that this is gonna be 5 feet deep for people to be out in a balcony. That's not gonna be the case on the courtyard side. This is more or less facing the residential side. So the courtyard will be glass in that same plane. So this will be in the same plane, this will stick out, and I keep touching the
It's okay.
screen.
I got you, don't worry about it.
Okay. Do that to Ashley all the time.
That's all right. We're all good.
Todd, I think what we're concerned about is just, material-wise, we're all puzzled on how you take an 8x16 concrete block and make it into a pediment that's, you know, we're just gonna be interested to see the detailing on that.
Well, now that you mention that, that's interesting.
It may be cast stone or something,
Yeah.
which is very, just cast concrete, but cast stone might be a better way to do it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if you could parge it or do something to keep it smooth. I know you're concerned about the EFS and the sanding and blowing in the river, but if there's some other way to get a smooth material there, I think that would be better than, you can parge over the CMU. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's the solution to that problem, because basically, you know,
Vertical and horizontal.
you're gonna have brick veneer, so we gotta support it with concrete block or something, so that was the intent. Yeah, so parging, I'm not opposed to that, that's fine.
Mhm.
All right, this is G, building G. So building G is up by Route 4 over here. Jeff, during our conversations, he wanted a brick building, so it's a brick building. And basically, it's the same footprint more or less as the 5400 other building we just saw previously, but this is going to be brick. And obviously you have a board here. Yep. So this obviously is right on Route 4. May or may not have doors here.
Some of those guys at Chase Bank, that.
May not be a lot of foot traffic, but just way along for now, this might be just all storefront with signage panels along the way, little Romeo and Juliet balconies, so that people can experience, you know, Route 4 and the hustle and bustle. We did this on South Main Street, Sheldon helped us out with. And so basically, this is the residential side of things, which faces down Route 4 this way. That's that elevation there. The other side's sort of tucked in behind Midas, not that big of a deal. So, if you know that top one, not a problem. So basically, coming down Route 4, you're gonna see this very prominently right here, where the, so we're gonna probably put a signage panel there. We'll have a storefront for stores or retail, whatever, and then just recessed, punched in brick to create a look, more or less.
The center section recessed for the little
Yeah,
people?
yes, right.
Is that where the stair is?
Yes, for the people upstairs.
Todd, where's the stone that's on here, on
The
this?
stone's gonna be right along the base here and up into the, door area and along the bottom there. I just have personal aversion to putting brick right to the ground. Seems like it kills the brick, and you get efflorescence, you get spalding, so I tend to want it to.
Could you just, hold there, Todd, on your middle elevation, I can't read it from here.
This one?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
You've set up a really rigid symmetry on the bottom course, as well as the top cornice. It appears that the windows are taking a life of their own.
Yeah, I wanted to screw around with it, yep, for lack of better, I just didn't want it looking too symmetrical.
I don't know how you can avoid that with the language you struck at the base and
Yeah.
the hard lines on the right and left and on the top. The lower one with the gable end is terrific. It looks great. And maybe there's a way to reintroduce that on the upper one. I think,
Obviously, I can make it repetitive.
yeah, I'm not suggesting necessarily repetitive, but some in and out element or something more, a little more sculptural, rather than with the windows.
Right, that's why, like the Romeo and Juliet would pop out, and I just, when I first drew it, to be honest with you, it was repetitive. And I was
Sure,
like,
yeah.
is this really what I want, or something different? That's all I was going for.
What do we think? I kinda like the stone as the base, I don't know that I would think it needs to go up. Myself, I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Stone going up,
Yeah.
higher?
He's only got it going up at the stair, I think you
Yeah,
said.
I have it down low here, it goes up a little higher on the, there. This, I just.
Yeah, I guess that's what Jack is referring to,
Yeah,
is why does it need to come up
at all.
at all? Because it's, it's intended to kind of look like a stone foundation.
Right.
And if you bring it up to 5 feet or 6 feet, it no longer reads as that. It reads as just decoration.
What you're saying is what I more or less intended,
Yeah,
and something that was durable down by the ground.
yeah. Now, if it's a real stone veneer, you can obviously go right to the ground with it. But if it's like a cultured stone, you can't just go to the ground with that.
No, it's gonna have to be a stone veneer, because I got brick up above it, so obviously.
I know, but if it's a cultured stone, you can't
No,
put that to the water.
It's not gonna be the thin stuff, it's gonna be the
Real
fine
stone, yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, so it's real stone.
Not everything on every building is real stone, like the metal building we first talked about, that's gonna be the 2-inch stuff. I only have a 2-inch reveal on the.
No, I don't care about the thickness, I care about the material. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that you talked about bringing brick to the ground
Right.
and having trouble with efflorescence and
Yeah.
and durability. Well, cultured stone, if it's an imitation stone, it has the same problem if you
Right.
bring it to the
In
ground.
this case, it's gonna be real,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
same
no, that's
same
great.
with the other 5,400 square foot building, that'll be real too.
Okay. No, then it serves its purpose.
Does anybody think about the idea of putting granite there, or concrete, or something smooth, rather than the fakey looking stone?
Like bigger.
Something solid and smooth.
Yeah, nice big
Yeah,
big
kinda hard
granite
to-
blocks would be nice.
A little slicker, a little more uniform.
Be right.
A little less decorative, a little more like in the industrial building here.
Right.
Like foundation, like Dave was saying, foundation, like it's like foundation coming in.
Yeah, it's not, It's not decoration, it's meant to look like structure.
Metal top.
Yeah, I would like that better, but I don't have a big problem with this. I just see it as a potential improvement.
All right.
Fewer joints, yeah.
So the thought is, just, I'm trying to make sure I'm capturing this correctly, that to use a concrete base, or are you saying granite?
Granite is smoother.
Granite.
Yeah,
Granite.
It's not so irregular.
It's not supposed to be like a field stone foundation, it's supposed to be like a cut stone foundation look, right?
Yeah, I like that, cut stone foundation.
I have a question for Jack. You ever run chimney on a house, Jack?
Yeah,
At all?
it was a long time, yeah.
I think that would look good.
I think I have no problem. I think it's just, we're talking about the size of the stone, the smoothness of it, and I think it stays as a base. Maybe under the windows or whatever, consistent, and maybe not go up and down in different places.
Just so you know, Jeff has bought some light fixtures. We're gonna incorporate those into, specific, the courtyard.
Sheldon, what was your comment on the upper elevation?
The windows are irregular.
There's no hard pattern like this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I broke it up.
Okay. I just wasn't following what the comment was.
But they're stacked top to bottom.
It sort of gives it a quirky Unionville-y kind of character, which I think, Todd, you're kind of going for it. Don't have as much of a problem with that, I guess, but it's a little different than the other side of the building, which I think that's what Sheldon's saying is a more regular look.
You hired different masons for the backside, Miles.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening.
You know how to read a plan.
They put the higher price guys on the front.
Yeah, we did that, the Chase guys were on that job.
So,
You could,
this is, building, H, which is this lonely person way over here. We call it a bank. Yep. I've done a Thomaston Savings Bank. I literally did that, and basically it's brick, asphalt shingles, some dormers and stuff. Obviously, if we get a bank, it's gonna be whatever the brand is going to be. Now, I figured the brick would probably work pretty well, even if it's not a bank, you know, something along this scale. It's right along Route 4, pretty visible, and, you know, it's sort of tucked off to the side, but I can see this being, you know, a bank that services, you know, we have almost 200 units in here, so that might be a decent place for a bank. But it's really not much to.
Is there access to it from
Yeah, there's an access here, and then there's an access here. You come along here on this little side road, and you can get into it that way.
might be able to work in an entrance, play your cards right. By the entrance from Chase.
Why did you choose such a residential vernacular for that building, for the little bank?
Yeah, just basically, instead of being like industrial looking and stuff like that, I tend to migrate more towards residential scale and homier, approachable. Obviously, if a contemporary bank, you know, we would work whatever with that. Obviously, I probably wouldn't even necessarily be involved with the project, but, I like brick, so it's just what I work with.
Is this a structure that you might not build until you had a tenant?
Yeah, that's probably exactly what would happen, yeah.
But as part of setting the tenure for the architecture, showing something that everybody would want there instead of something that no one wants?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll speak to my skill level, right? It takes someone pretty soon with modern architecture in order to pull off cool stuff like that.
It could match what you've done here. It
Yeah,
doesn't
we
need to
didn't-
be,
We didn't say modern, we just
I
said,
think it just needs to be in character with what you've done here.
Okay. Kind of, for me, it was brick and stuff like that, I kind of felt it would tie in. But, again, that's gonna be more driven by a tenant, not necessarily just building that and then waiting for someone to show up, so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought the last building you just showed us was a really great start, and you could, understanding your desire for scale, which we all support, but,
To make this look like that, only smaller.
yeah, I think there'd be a stronger statement here on
Yeah.
the beginning of the project.
I guess if we can, sure, I have no aversion to
But
it.
it's part of this, part of what our recommendation would be. I don't think we would be comfortable recommending a building that looked like that, because then somebody would automatically build it.
Yeah, no, we know we go back and forth, but at least as a language.
I don't have a problem with it from,
Yeah. It better not be a Chase Bank. Yeah, we got windows for it. We got a door too.
Doors and windowsills and, really, you probably make a good deal on it.
It's not really a building, but this is the information pavilion that we're talking about, and that is gonna be located right here. So this is kind of like one of the fun things that we're playing with, is that what we're thinking was basically taking that trolley stop up by the road here and make the same vocabulary here, and then there's also, a little round kiosk that we're trying to tie into that also, and you obviously have the material board, or color board there. So the idea is to kind of incorporate the galvanized metal that matches this, along with sort of the wrought iron erector set.
perfect for the drive-through on a bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I mean, again, it's not convincing us, it's convincing a bank, but, but no.
As part of the approval, maybe that would help.
Oh, yeah, I've noticed it.
So this is pretty much what we discussed before as far as the McCallum building. Here's a sketch of, and you have the, building C.
We're back on C, Todd?
Yep. C7 is where I'm at, please. So basically, Jeff's gonna repair, Jeff's gonna repair the concrete, replace the windows, clean up the building in general.
Cast in place or?
So what we're thinking is we would have black frames in the windows and the doors. These overhead doors would be part of the entryway into the building from this sketch here. We just put a canopy out there, midpoint commons, we'll name it whatever we need to. But basically, this is important in that we're blowing out the middle of the existing building and getting to the back side of the building, because we think that's very important, that we make a connection between this entryway and the bike path here. So it's a little tight back there, but that's what we're trying to focus on, was trying to make it more lively. And on sheet 9, C9, this is a sketch of sort of photograph is sort of drawing over it. This is the back of the building, but we didn't want it to feel like the back of the building. We want to make it a public space. So basically, here's the bike repair shop, which is the little wood building that I showed before. This kind of shows the path as it starts to come down the hill, and the path continues back up at some point, so people come down and around and more or less get into this courtyard thing. And it's going to be a raised platform on the back side of the building. This is obviously looking at the front corner, including the metal building over there, and basically the concrete block building, which is building D on the material boards. Not a lot to do there. We're thinking about making it a gray with punched windows, with aluminum frames in there. We have, already has interest in maybe a brewery going in there, so they need the high space going on in here. So basically, wanted to treat the concrete block building a little different than McCallum, so it has a gray feel to it instead of the tan concrete look of the McCallum building.
So, let me understand, you're talking about on the first floor, a wide plaza that goes through the entire building from front to back?
Well, I'm happy to show you. So, this one's probably the best one. C1B.
Yeah.
So currently, right now,
Because the files are so big, it takes,
yeah.
the computer is gonna
So this piece
have
here,
heart failure.
in the rendering that you just saw, these are gonna be overhead doors. You can see the overhead doors on the color board there. Those are gonna roll up, obviously, in the good weather. People will be able to go through this space here. Jeff is blowing out the back side of the building that goes right through to the backside patio, raised patio. There's gonna be a ramp here and a set of stairs that get you down to the ground on the backside of the building. It's probably 4 or 5 feet up is where this platform is gonna be. So we want people going through the building both ways, and then maybe like a brewery over here. This is the concrete block building from here over, and then this is gonna be indoor seating, obviously, when it's inclement weather, and then, maybe like a ice cream place over here. There's an elevator, some toilets.
Can you push your bike through the building?
What?
Can you push your bike all the way through, or not?
Well, there's a ramp. They would most certainly be able to get up there. Same thing here.
Okay.
Because the floor level, like I said, is up high. So the idea with, the rest of it is, this elevator here is only for the residential people up on the 4th, 5th, and 6th floor. We have a problem with the building is that on the lower floors, 2nd and 3rd specifically, we have 8-foot ceilings, 7 and 11 in some areas. Plus, we have the mushroom cap columns in there too. So that's going to be self-storage, rentable office space, personal residential storage for the people who have residences. They'll have cubicle storage areas. And really, that hasn't changed from when we initially started. Essentially, this other elevator that's existing, that will be in service more or less for the public side of things. This elevator will be for the residential side of things.
So the ceiling height gets higher as you go up?
Once you get to the 4th floor, which is sort of the tower part of the building, now the ceilings get taller there.
Oh, okay, good.
So, but the 2nd and 3rd, all the way through, are only 8 feet high.
Okay. When you were here originally, I thought you were saying the whole building was compressed like that, and it was gonna be, the whole building was self-storage. It's obviously much more active and...
Yes. So to live, work, and play, there will be 6 units in this building that will occupy the tower as a penthouse kind of thing, and then 2 floors below that. All the residential stuff is 4 floors up, and then we have office space, storage, because everything's...
Can you show the front elevation again, please?
Yes. C7. This is the way it is now. This is what we're proposing, and these are where the overhead doors we're gonna blow through. They're currently bricked up. There is a door over on this side. There's little light transoms above the doors, we're gonna keep those. So we're gonna have a canopy that goes across the building, actually down here. And so we're trying to invite people in, keep those doors open in the good weather, try to invite people to get into the building. And like I said, we'll have other stuff, eateries or whatever in that section and over here. Currently, right now, the auto parts store is over here, so they're gonna go to the lower level of the metal building that's just off to the side over here.
What are you keeping the windows?
No, we're gonna replace them. Right now, they're all the metal frames. A lot of them are busted, they're obviously not very efficient at all. So we're thinking on changing them with aluminum windows, black, with obviously insulated glazing and stuff like that. And obviously, if the residences go from here up, you can see that would be a pretty dramatic unit and stuff. We're gonna make roof terraces where we can, facing that way.
Maybe we need to see the more detail on the windows, because I would think that, for our last discussion, I think we would want to get all that settled down, so.
So, there's a little difference between the review for Midpoint versus the review for Chase.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because Chase, obviously, being Farmington Village District, and required a positive referral from the commission in order to change the height of, or from the ADA, in order to change the design parameters of the building. So there's different level of oversight for Chase than there is for this building. It's distinctly different how it's outlined in the regulations.
We probably should review that at some point.
Excuse me?
We probably should review that so we know what. we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
and
I did,
Well, I did include it in the.
we did.
We should read our email, is that what you're telling us?
I wouldn't dare to be so bold, yeah.
We can take suggestions.
But there is a distinctly different level of review, so this is
Text
truly
you,
more
read
of
it.
an advisory and a higher level look
Cool.
But,
than it is at either of the centers, in Unionville Center or Farmington
Right.
Center, so this is,
but P&Z, for instance, could require them to have external grills, not in between the glass, if P&Z chose to do that, right?
if that's something that this committee felt strongly about and wanted that to be incorporated, because ultimately there should be a letter that goes from this committee to
Yeah.
P&Z. Again, the phrasing is for design continuity,
Continuity.
right? And so that's the
Especially on-
terminology that was used at the time that regulation was developed. And
Right.
that's the scope and breadth of what we're looking for.
I think a good portion of the architecture of the existing building is those windows, and I think that needs to, however achieved, it needs to look very similar. And I know that you may want to make them operable and different things, but that's going to be critical.
The feel of it, yeah.
I agree. All the windows have to come out to do the
Right.
proper repair on the concrete. Come all the way around.
And I think there are products that will look good and be reasonable for that too, so it's not unreasonable to make them.
I think down at like the Colt building and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's whole cottage industries.
Yeah, the idea wasn't to wander too far off the ranch with the windows, so, problem with that. Okay, so, next is R1.
R1.
Keep scrolling.
I'm up at the, I'll keep scrolling, I'll catch up eventually. I didn't have to go, there's a whole lot of it, I didn't have to go.
There was no MNO. Now we're into the residential piece of this. There's basically three size buildings. We tried varying up if you look at the other ones. Basically, we have sort of this step gable thing, and then there's roofs, and then you're gonna see one that's gables. So, what we're trying to do here is basically they're gonna have indoor garages. There'll be 6 spaces in each garage bay, and And then basically on the water side, there'll be residences facing the water. We have about 80% of the units have a water view, so that's really what we're trying to get to. The corners are all 2 bedrooms, and then we infill depending on how big the building is. So you have material boards in front of you for the 3 different types of color, I guess, variations. So these 3 here. So basically all earth tones. We want it to be, we don't want to get too bold. It is sort of next to the river, you know, so we want something that's not going to be too loud or anything. So this is where we started running into the ethos problem. So basically what we're going to do is this, some of the buildings have stone on the bottom. 147 building has horizontal shiplap with a square cut in it. Again, we're going to do that on an ethos, but we're going to do a 10-inch shiplap with a square cut in the bottom. That's where you're reading the horizontal lines on the building here. The ends, we're probably going to try to bring that down a little bit, and this will be like a panelized system. I told myself never to refer to a Jack building again, since the hot dog stand didn't go over very well, but just down the street, there's a panelized system, and that's really what our intent was for some of the middle parts of the building or on the ends that would go all the way down. So upper pieces, the darker pieces, those will be vertical siding. And so my concept is all of these recesses will be darker, because I want these to pop a little bit, be a little more vertical, instead of monolithically banding the building. You know, stepping stuff as it goes up and down, depending on what piece of the building. 47 building only has entryways on the side. The other 2 larger buildings have an entryway in the middle that get to an elevator. The 147 building doesn't have an elevator, but there's only one 147 building. So as you can see from the color boards that you have, we're going to mix and match. We're obviously not going to put anything close to each other the same. So that was the idea. And keep it all earth tone. So this was the gable version. The gable version has like a little loft area up top. I tend to like my buildings to step in the middle down to the edges. In reference to Sheldon's comment the last time, we lowered the ceiling a little bit in here so that when you come into the site, the ends of the buildings aren't as high. So we're trying to keep the scale down, let the building build towards the middle. See, this is
on the site plan, where is a building like that?
right here. When you're coming in here, we want to open up the vista to the water over on this side. So, you know, Bill has pushed the buildings over as far as he can go without getting into trouble. And then basically I dropped the 2-unit ceiling heights down to the normal 9-foot.
Right, but then,
For
the
that
building
particular
with the
building,
gables, is it the 3 in the middle? Is it one of those 3? Is it all of those
Basically,
3?
the 172 buildings, which is building 1, 3, there's 4 of them. This one, and I think this one here. Yeah, so 1, 3, 5, and 6. Yeah.
Okay, so 1,
Those are the gables.
Yeah, that'll be the gables.
5.
So on the 147, we put a monitor on top for the 3rd floor, so there'll be light coming in. The bigger buildings will have like a penthouse, and this one was the hip version of that. That's the 180-something building, 182.
Those buildings,
183, okay.
What do these numbers mean?
those buildings
It's the
are
length.
here.
The length of the
It's
building.
the
Oh,
length of the building.
Thank you.
So we have 3 different sizes.
They flank.
Yeah.
That 2 and 4?
The one, 2 is the 147.
Oh,
That's the
sorry.
one with the
Only one
lobster.
Yeah,
And the
4 and 7.
183 is
4 and 7.
are on the outside, they're 4 and 7.
So again, you know, some cable railing stuff and
4 and,
mixing and matching the colored palette.
So there's one of this first building,
correct.
that's the middle one,
Yeah,
that's the 3.
That's this guy.
Yeah, and then you get 4 of the next building.
Yeah, which are these.
And then you get the
These
2,
are the
the
183
ones
votes.
with the square.
Yeah. And then the clubhouse is right here. And I think I have,
Is the siding vinyl siding?
that's our composite.
Big or.
Okay, I'll say vinyl then. That's the clubhouse elevations, and that's R4.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So basically, this is along the interior road entryway, in, thanks to the street, and then this is the backside towards the water, obviously opening up as much glass as possible. There's a little sketch of the back of the building as it would look there. And that would have, you know, all the fun stuff in the clubhouse, the community room, game room, office, weight room, doggy spa, golf simulator, yoga studio. Sure, I forgot.
How big is the clubhouse?
Big as far as length?
Square foot.
Oh, it's probably a good over 5,000 square feet.
This is only,
6730, I had a lucid moment. at that
only
time.
for the residents, or is?
Yeah, it's for the residents.
Pretty big amenity building.
Can we make a recommendation versus, materials? I would recommend that we ask for fiber cement
Or
versus
some sort of
vinyl.
composite.
I think these buildings, there's gonna be, the vinyl's gonna look wavy.
Pretty big.
I would agree.
And I think simulated divided lights on everything.
That was the intent, like an Anderson 400 or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the CMU? I guess I'd like to see the coursing that you're proposing and whether or not you would
On which?
charge that.
On the,
In the original building?
Yeah,
One
on
of the
that
first buildings.
building. Some more detail on it at least, so we could see what you're thinking, perhaps?
Okay. First off, I was thinking of running bond. I wasn't thinking of anything too fancy, but black bond, I guess, would be fine. Like that.
I guess the concern is just how does it translate up into, if you're gonna really do those pediments,
Yeah.
how does it all translate up into that?
At that point, I think I'd
I thought
probably,
we were talking about maybe parging those areas to keep them smooth.
Because if you look at your pictures of, was it the McCallum building photograph? You see this building right here, you see the big concrete, you know, lintels, so to speak, or whatever those are.
right,
And that up against the brick looks nice,
right.
because there's no joints, you know?
Smooth.
And the problem we have with your first building was the idea of this having all just a normal,
You think an
like, running bar joint.
Unscored joint.
Yeah, like, this looks really nice, you know,
Okay.
the concrete against, and I know you can't do cast in place concrete, but I
Right.
think, again, they're subject to parging it or something like that.
Yeah. Large
To
or
try to
short.
make an industrial looking building like that, you take the CMU, parge it, and then you get the brick next to it, and it looks just like what you got,
Okay.
you know?
I think in general, everywhere, you know, simulated divided lights, even, like we said, to have the look and the feel of what's in the original
Right.
building.
Yep.
If it's
I agree.
especially with the black, because as you saw in the chase,
Yeah, it
tank,
disappears.
when you do the grills inside on black, it doesn't do anything. It just looks like a reflection of a picture window, and
Yeah.
you don't even notice that it is.
We found that even the simulated divider lights kind of disappear in the black,
Yeah,
so.
You know,
I mean, really, the only like punched openings was the CMU side of the building where I would keep as much plain glass as possible, but I agree with all this other stuff. Even the residential stuff, simulated divider light would be the way to go.
I think we're just saying, if you're gonna divide the glass, we're okay with big pieces of glass and stuff
Yeah.
in certain sections, but
Right.
if you're gonna do it,
Please
don't put it between the glass,
Right.
put it on the outsides.
on the building that we're looking at now, which is the only building like that, right, Doc?
Right.
Small building. I don't know, I have a problem with those little pointed.
Little pediments. That's why I asked for the picture.
I mean, I think, I think that particular building, if those middle two, balcony elements were straight on the top.
Straight across?
Straight across, I think it would be stronger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
like
the
the overall composition of that building, but I think that little decoration just kind of doesn't add anything.
Well, Barbara's gonna be very happy to hear that, because she didn't like those.
I agree with you completely.
Yeah, he's just smiling because he knows, right?
Yeah. But, yeah.
I have the same feeling about the primary retail building. It has the big pediment on it with a bullseye in it.
You might take a look at that, what it looks like, it might look stronger without it.
Yeah,
I don't
or,
have a problem.
well, the reason I asked to see the facade of the McCollum building earlier was it has little pediments, but they're very low and they don't project very high above the floor, into the ceiling area, and I kind of like those. Wondering if that feel might come into this area, or,
And given how you want to build the building, if you lose that, it makes it a lot easier to,
Yeah, I agree.
it's a lot easier to build,
No issue with that.
I think in general,
Yeah,
you've done a great job listening to our feedback, and I like the way the buildings are three different sizes now, the way they're oriented, the view to the river, so I really commend you guys on listening and doing a great job.
And I know you didn't really spend any time on it, but I think the only building I don't like is the bank, right? And,
Agreed.
And I think if there's a way to just, and again, I know the bank is a fictitious
Yeah.
thing, but if there's a way for us to say that if the goal of this commission is to say that this development has architectural continuity, then that has to extend to any building that gets built on this property, and we can say that the bank, needs to have the character of the other building, sure.
I have a question for you, Phil. I appreciate how you've reorganized the entry, with the view towards the river into the clubhouse. The question I've got is whether you have enough room between the clubhouse and the building next to it, so that view corridor really becomes a view corridor.
If I had an opportunity to move it, I would have. The problem we've got to a degree is the process. We have a wetland approval, and the wetland, my upland review area, that building. And I took a look, because of your comment, I had taken a look at sliding this to open that gap up. And and part of the regulation says I have to have 35 feet between the buildings. When I push this, I end up pushing that, and that maybe, Shannon, you can give me some feedback on this. Would that open, I've been afraid that would open up the wetland process again. Because everything, we've made modifications
Outside
outside of the upland review area, which is substantial along this whole frontage. And Abe and I have talked about this, to accomplish exactly what you're saying, Sheldon. But I have been afraid about that building because I've got more of that building into the upland review area.
Technically, yes, it would. If you were going the other way and coming out, then that makes it an easy. Technically, then there's more disturbance in the upland. That it would have to go back to wetlands or.
We'd have to cut back.
Or you could make it the shorter building.
We'd have to figure that one out, because, yeah, if this building here were shorter, or this building were shorter, you could move it over. The problem comes in, and where do you put those units? And I don't know the answer to that, because that would force some other building to become bigger. And I'm not sure what the consequences of that would be, but I'm sure that the developers don't want to lose any units at this point, because we all know what's going on in the economy, but we can't afford to lose units.
What is the distance between the buildings? What is the distance between the
The
buildings?
minimum is, by code, has to be 35 feet.
No, that's 35 feet in between those two for the view corridor? No, for the ones you've moved apart. Sorry, the ones you moved apart at the view, what is that distance?
We've got about 70 feet.
That's pretty big. That's really
And we also took there's a small mail building, we moved, that was in that location, we moved it over. We've made it as big as we could. We'd like it to be bigger. We're just hemmed in at the moment.
Do you have any kind of patio in that 70-foot area? Is that what that is? Okay.
That whole area is a patio with a fire pit at the far end of the patio.
So you've done everything you can to energize it.
Correct.
70 feet.
I could have done more, I would.
He's even set it on fire.
That's fun.
You've made some great suggestions, and we would like to make it bigger. We just.
We have to remember they're moving the sewer line too, to help with the whole layout.
Yeah,
So,
no,
I
I
think
knew that,
they do
yeah.
a lot.
I have a question about your bike shop. A runner, I'm not a biker, I'll let Dave talked about the bikes more, but I'm wondering if you want awnings or flat roofed areas for guys to bring their bikes in and pump up the tire under cover or something like that.
Like, if it's closed, you would have an air under cover, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just a flat roof or a tent or something. I can imagine a half a dozen mini Pelotons that come cruising across the bridge that I have to dodge.
It's not a bad idea.
No,
Because
I mean, air is a great idea, I'll tell you that, having air
Yeah.
available 24/7.
when I rode up
I don't think you really ride a lot in
Westfield,
the rain, and
Yeah.
so, you know.
No, but
one
even,
of our riders had a flat tire, and we needed air up in Westfield, and there's no darn bike shop sitting in Westfield when you come down off the ramp at the Stop and Shop. So something like that is a great idea.
I mean, as soon as you said it, I was thinking like the old gas station, things with
a couple benches for guys to stretch out or something.
What we're proposing right here, right at the end of the trail, we're proposing two benches and like 4 or 5 bike racks. We're also proposing bike racks. If the town regulations require 1 bike rack, I've got it in the application, like 1 bike rack for every 20 parking spaces. We've got like 4 or 5 times the number of bike racks. We've got bike racks all over the commercial and throughout the residential portion. Because we want this to be a bike-oriented community, because we've got the trail going through it, and we get the major connections. So this is heavy bike-oriented.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the great things about living there, right? Is you come home from work, jump on your bike, and you go out, and you come back, and.
Do you have a boat ramp for kayaks or canoes?
Yes, the Wetland Commission approved us having a dock that would be seasonal. that would allow us to have a kayak launch at this location. And they make this, it's one of the details, application, but there's a scooped section, there's a section you clip on to the end of the dock where somebody can put a kayak in or a canoe, and they can just slide into the water so that we don't have to. We don't want to tear up the bank. So we have permission for that. We have permission for temporary kayak racks in this location and a gazebo, as long as the gazebo is hydrostatically anchored. So in a flood, it's not going to go anywhere. So that we'll be able to use that area for that purpose.
Part of that peninsula was underwater this summer. With the 25 inches of rain we got in June, July, August, that peninsula was underwater.
I believe it.
So that's why it's got to be anchored. We got to be mindful of what's there and the seasonal provisions of it.
I'd like to reiterate, I think what these guys are saying, that you guys really have listened to what we have to say. We're very appreciative for that, and looks like it's going to be a great project.
Yeah, this is such a big project, it's mind-boggling when you start it and you start going through it. And sometimes it's difficult to take criticism when people are giving you suggestions, but the whole process has really been great, because it's been wonderful getting your comments, looking at it from the outside, and not being critical, but just saying, hey, did you guys think about this? Right. And that has been extremely helpful, and it's helped evolve our thinking on it. So I think it's, all in all, it's a better project, much better project than it ever was before.
We'd agree.
I want to also commend you on the research you did in the history, and you know that's my thing, but the trolley is an amazing part of our history.
That's the cool part. We did not expect that.
Part, yeah.
And now we can integrate that through the development.
That's why Suburban Park.
If you think about it, the connection that you're creating, you're celebrating the trolley in this development, and then it moves on to the wooden tap in the old trolley barn, which is what that building was, and it continues on to Unionville, where we're really seeing a resurgence for Suburban Park, which was Electric Park, which is where the trolleys came from Hartford.
Let me give you guys a
really, I mean, we're talking about an entire history of the trolley through Farmington and Unionville, which is something that we really have not yet really celebrated or promoted, even from a tourism standpoint. So what you're doing here is wonderful, and I appreciate it. And I know, Abe, I think you can find a trolley, probably an original.
I can tell them where to get one.
I don't want to pay for that, but I mean, they're out there, and I can envision one maybe inside that bottom of the McCallum building with selling ice cream. I think you could really, they're everywhere. They're rusting somewhere.
Tim.
To be bought and restored.
Tell you where you can find one.
He's talking.
West Hartford Center, go to Trevor.
Oh, yeah.
There is the roof and the side walls between the bar and the lower level. We found that trolley that was there.
Yeah.
We built around it.
But I mean, even this celebration of, I mean, years ago, I know some of you here might remember, I worked in Hartford in the very beginning of my career, and there was a restaurant called the Club Car. And it was down across from the Wadsworth Athenaeum. It was down underneath the street. Why they put things underneath the street, I was like in a bomb shelter. I never understood that. But anyway, it was a whole trolley inside a restaurant, and people would sit in it in the restaurant, and then there'd be tables around it. But there's some great things. But I encourage you as well to, think about the playground, maybe has some trolley theme, or even when you're naming the buildings and some of the, so anyway, thank you for that work, and I think it's great.
Thank you.
We're gonna try to find you a trolley then, I promise. By the way, can I just make a comment on can I make a comment on the bank building, the one you don't like?
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead, Abe.
Yeah, that building is gonna be tenant driven. So we may have to come back to you for modification with a different design if the tenant is different than a bank. And we don't know what the tenant is going to be like, but that's going to be tenant driven. That's not cast in concrete, basically. Just so you.
Yeah, good.
Understood, thank you.
Okay. And I want to thank all the commission and Shannon for all your help and your great suggestions and comments that you made that took this project, it took a good project and it made it better. And I just want to thank you all for that. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's a wrap.
I think that's
So
right.
I will capture everything, so just so everybody know, this is my fun job for the next few days, is Shannon gets to put this all pen to paper and capture everything. And in that, in the meeting notes, we'll include some of the conditions and thoughts. And, we will put a letter together, a recommendation letter based on that from the, ADRC to TP. Touch on, again, that architectural continuity for TPD, and all of that will be shared with the applicant in advance of the meeting.
Do you know what the schedule is panning out in terms of our being in front of the PAC? At this point, is it February?
It'll be February. I'm doubting more and more it'll be the first meeting. It's more likely that it'll be the second meeting. My apologies. But I don't think we have the bandwidth to get through the volume of material. And because we have a thorough review of the traffic study and a thorough review of the drainage. I don't think it's going to happen in time for the meeting on the 7th.
We don't even need to show up on the 24th.
So the 24th,
The 23rd.
so next Monday night, January 24th, the application is on the agenda for receipt at Attorney Pearson's request, so that it is received and it starts the clock for Connecticut General Statute frame, right, for site plan review, and it starts at 65 days. That's the legal date of receipt, because it's the first meeting after we have it in the office. That's all that's going to be, I think.
We're not doing a presentation.
No, there's no presentation, there's no nothing, and it's probably going to be the meeting February 23rd, that they'll give us through early February to finish review, issue comments. If we need to, we can chat, and then have the meeting with you February 23rd. Probably where this is going to land.
That's fine.
No, just so folks know where this is scheduled.
I told Shannon I was gonna be away on the ski slopes that week.
Yeah.
In January.
February.
Oh, because I'm away next week on skiing, so.
So, as long as
For
all
that.
right.
Okay.
Thank you.